We're going to do Luke chapter 16. That will be where the bulk of this sermon is today. We'll start at verse 1, and I believe like go through probably verse 12. But I am also going to go to some other places before we get to the book of Luke, just to make a point. Now, this is something I do not teach very often in church because it is important in one way, but it's not important in another, and I'll explain that in just a minute. And it's tithing, but I don't call it tithing. I call it stewardship. And I've done one sermon before on this. Now I've been in ministry for over 12 years. This is only the second time I've taught it. But it is very important that you understand what it means to do that and the faith that you have to do that. Because it's not about you putting the money in the plate, to me. And anybody that knows me in the church, and some of you do, is that I do not take pay for doing this ministry. Because God has blessed me in other ways so that I could do this without letting money get between me and God's ministry. I'm not taking anything away from pastors who have given full-time service to the church. They deserve to get paid. But I like it because now I can teach you about it and don't have to sit there and you think, oh God, here we go again. We got a preacher that's talking about money. I mean, how many churches or how many TV ministers do you see? That's all they talk about. Week in and week out. Money, money, money. I need your money. Send me $1,000. I'll give you a prayer cloth and you can be healed. They're always begging for money. Well, if you ever have a church or a ministry that's begging for money, then you better be very leery, because if you are doing things God's way, you do not have to beg for money. Because God will provide for that church and that ministry. So, I call it stewardship instead of tithing, but I wanted you to understand what it was about. But stewardship simply means, there's several Hebrew and Greek words as a definition through the Old Testament and the New Testament. If you were to melt them all into one, it means to be in charge of. Okay, so what am I talking about? You are in charge of your life. You are in charge of what you give. You are in charge of your salvation. You are in charge whether you do good or you choose to do bad. You are in charge of your life. And you're going to say, well, what does that have to do with tithing? Well, that's what we're going to do today. You're going to find out what it is. Okay? God does not send out beggars. I'm sorry, and I know that sounds ugly, and somebody's going to say this. They say, oh, you hear that preacher? He don't send out beggars. All right? We're supposed to be up here to teach the Word of God. We're not to let mammon get in the way of that, which is money. Now, He has made promises to us all the way back into the Old Testament that He would bless us abundantly if we would do His Word. There's a lot of ifs and buts in the Bible because there's conditions. All we have to do is meet those conditions, and I promise you, it works. God will bless you. That covenant wasn't just made to Abraham, it was made to us too. Because that seed line come all the way back from the Garden of Eden, all the way through Abraham, all the way to us. Why did I say we are of the children of Israel? Because we lived in the most blessed nation in the world.
Amen.
That's why I say we are of the tribes of Israel. Because we are blessed. We have the freedom to worship God each and every day without restrictions. Now, used to I would teach, and I was wrong, and I don't never care to say when I'm wrong about something. I just want to make this point. God gives us gifts. Now, what am I talking about? Brian's gift is he is a musician, and he's very good at it. My gift is the gift of teaching and discernment and the knowledge of the Word and charisma to be able to stand up here and teach and preach to you. Uncle Doug and Miss Becky, they work tirelessly in this church. This is their gift. Mia has a gift to teach. Jerry has a gift to teach. Christy has a gift. God gives each and every one of us a gift, and that's a blessing. Okay? God gives each and every one of us a talent. Now, the point that I'm making is it'd be real easy for me to stand up here and tell you that I don't have to tithe because I'm not getting paid to do this. Would it not be real easy for me to say that? And I'm sure a lot of people would. And what I'm going to tell you is that is not a part of tithing. It is an honor to be called by the Most High God to do something for Him. And that is being a musician, that's being a teacher, that's being a preacher. That is an honor. So that is not part of your tithing. I just want you to understand. And the only reason I'm teaching about this is because it is us walking in obedience to God. And when we do that, then He will bless you if you have the faith. That's why I'm teaching it to you, because it's so important to your relationship and your walk with God. Now, there's a couple of different stewardships. You've got some people who get out here and they make money by ripping people off. But you've also got another stewardship of those who are people who are out here honestly working hard each and every day to pay their bills and to do right. Okay? Now, so we are supposed to be stewards of God. We are in charge of our lives and what we do. Does God not own everything? He owns everything. So if we are going to be a steward of God, then we are responsible for taking care of what is His. Does everybody understand that? And I can promise you, if you need anything to do God's ministry and you pray for it, brother and sister, you better watch out what you pray for, because He will give it to you. But then you are in charge of, and you are responsible for whatever it is that He gives you. That you don't become a stumbling block for somebody, but that you be an example for somebody, and that you bring them into a relationship with Jesus Christ today. So that's a big responsibility. And some people use that gift to beg for money and cheat people out of their money. Okay? But then you have those who really love the Lord, and they don't do that. So what I wanted to start with was, and I didn't tell you to turn here, it's up to you whether you do, is I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 4. Kind of going back all the way to the beginning here. Genesis chapter 4, verse 3. This is just right after the Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel were set outside of the gates of the Garden of Eden. Verse 3, it says, "In the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord." Now, it did not say that he brought his best. It did not say that he brought his first fruits. Now, I could just imagine, of course, Cain ends up murdering his brother, so it'd be easy to assume that he gathered up all the best of the best that he had, and he put it up in a storehouse, and the stuff that he dropped out of his hand, or the rotten fruit that he left on the tree, is what he gave to the Lord. Is that giving God the best that He has given us? Verse 3. Or verse 4, "And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof, and the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering." Why did He have respect unto Abel and his offering? He got out his very best that God had given him and blessed him, and he gave it to the Lord. When you give God your best, I promise you, He will bless you beyond your wildest dreams. When you have that faith. And the Lord said unto Cain, "Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, and thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be His desire that shall rule over them." All right, so now we're going to go to Genesis chapter 15. Genesis chapter 15. Going all the way back to Abraham. "After these things the word of the Lord came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abraham, I am thy shield and exceeding great reward." And Abraham said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and have the steward of my house in this? So here you have the steward. Here Abraham is 100 years old, and Sarah is 90 years old, and up to this point they've not had any children. Okay? And Abraham said, hold on, I just lost my place. Anyway, I'm going to go back to that verse 1. And Abraham in a vision, fear not, Abraham, I am thy shield. What is that shield? It is the shield of faith that we have in God, that He will provide for us when we do right, and we are good stewards over His belongings. Now, a lot of people wonder today why they still are where they're at, and because they don't give God their best. And that's part of this walk. You are in charge. All right, let's go back to Luke chapter 16. This is only one example of stewardship. All right, there's several in the Bible, and I've already done one sermon on it, but this is a different one. Okay, and he said unto his disciples, there was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. He had wasted what God had given him. He was not a good steward of what He left him with. I can give you an example of a good steward, say in my business. Everybody, where most people know that I'm a contractor. I've got 3 crew leaders. Now, they are a steward of my business. I run it behind the scenes. I do the paperwork. I do the taxes. We do the payroll. But they go out and they've got my trailers. They've got my tools. They've got my reputation. Now, if they go out and they're not a good steward of my business and they're costing me a lot of money, that is part of being a good steward. They're not taking care of what I entrusted them with to take care of for me. It's no different than when we are serving the living God today, that we are supposed to be a good steward of what He has blessed us with.
Amen.
And I'm fixing to give you a couple examples of that. Verse 2. So, here the master has come and he's been cooking the books. And now he wants to take a look at the books. And he called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer a steward. God expects us to be responsible for what He has given us. Okay? Now if you'll notice, He did not fire him. All he wanted to do was to look at the books, because he had heard that he was not doing his job. So, I can't help to say this, but there's going to come a time, folks, when we got to stand before the Almighty God, and the books will be open, and you will give an account of the things that you've done while you're on this earth, and how you have taken care of what God has blessed you with today. The books will be opened, and you will be accountable for that. Now some people say, well, brother, you just don't understand. Let's see what a good steward is. God owns everything. He owns your house. He owns your land. He owns this world. He owns the clothes that are on your back. And if it wasn't for Him, you wouldn't have any of those things. So if God has blessed you with a house, whether it's $1 million home or whether it's a little shed over here, He still expects you to be a good steward of what He has blessed you with. So, now what are we talking about? Well, I mean, do you take care of your home? Do you keep your grass mowed? You think this is silly. Keep it weeded where it looks good. It doesn't matter how little or how big it is. Do you keep it clean? God has blessed you with that and expects you to take care of it. And if you do not take care of it, He will not give you anything else, because you can't even take care of what He's entrusted you with. I thought about Frank and Amanda. Not all of y'all know them, but they've got a little place on the cod farm now. And it was literally a shed out there. And they made it into a home. I mean, it's like a tiny home. And I'm talking about you could turned around once like this and done seen the whole thing as soon as you stepped through the door. Now, I wasn't paying no attention to how small it was. The thing that really got me was the lawn was mowed, it was weed eated, finally manicured. They had made themselves a little nice little tiny home. It was clean, it was organized. They were taking care of what God blessed them with. Did you know they had just lost their other home? And it was like an overnight 2-day thing, and they had to get this thing done, and they went out there and they did it, and God blessed them with it. So now they're paying half of what they were paying before. They have land on the river and a nice little home. If you want something nicer in your life, then you better be taking care of what God has given you. Verse 3. Then the steward said within himself, "What shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig. To beg I am ashamed." He doesn't want to be a beggar. He doesn't want to go and ask for help. Well, he's been the boss. I don't care to relate myself to this. You know, I don't generally have to do physical work, and he didn't either. God had blessed him with this position, or the master did, and all he had to do was take care of the books and make sure everybody was doing what they were doing. So he said, "Oh my God." He says, "I can't dig a ditch. I don't know how to do this work. What am I going to do?" You shouldn't have to beg if you have taken care of what God has given you. Right? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
And I know that, like I said, a lot of people get mad when I say this, but many ministers stand before a church week in and week out, and I've been to them, and they're always talking about the money, the money, the money. I don't care what you put in the offering plate. It has no effect on my life whatsoever, but it does have an effect on your life, because are you giving God your best? So we have to walk in obedience to Him. If you have the shield of faith like Abraham, and if you do what this Bible says, you can't help to be blessed. Verse 4. I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me in their houses. So now he's looking for a place to live. He thinks he's fixing to be out of a job. To say, okay, so what else has God given you today or blessed you with? You might have somebody over here that's got a real nice shiny Corvette. You might have somebody over here that's got an old beat up 1985 Chevette. Maybe the clear coat's done been rubbed off of it a little bit. But who cares? Did God give that to you, or did you acquire that on your own? God gave it to you. So, now, how many times, this might offend somebody because I don't know how well you take care of your vehicle. But you know, I've gotten in a vehicle where I had to dig through about a knee's high worth of trash out of the way just to sit in it. Now, again, God blessed you with it. I don't care how old it is. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You should take care of it. You should keep the oil changed. You should rotate the tires. And guess what? You take care of what God has blessed you with, and He will bless you with more. We have got to be a good steward and be thankful to the Almighty God each and every day for everything that we have. Everything. Our lives, our houses, our clothes, our healthy children, our jobs. How many people do you ever hear complain about their jobs? I hear it all the time because I'm in construction. I go to all these different service stations just in, pretty much hear everybody's life story, how much they hate their job. God gave you that job. Be thankful to God for that. Thank you, Lord. Thank you so much for this job, Lord. Guess what? You be thankful for that job, and you do the best job that you can, and you represent Jesus Christ as a Christian. And you will find another job. Because God is going to bless you with it because you are being a good steward. I don't mind using myself as an example. Most time I do because I don't make anybody else mad. I got a house right down here on Beach Creek that I built with my own hands, 2,500 square feet. I had 40 acres worth of land. I lost every bit of it. You know why? Because I was not a good steward of what God had blessed me with. I wouldn't take care of it. I got behind on the repairs on it, and before you knew it, I despised it. So instead of thanking God for what I had and took care of what He gave me, I neglected it, and guess what? I lost it. Everything but the shirt on my back. Well, that's a hard lesson to learn. I promise you, I will take care of what God gives me from now on. And I hope that you do the same. So now he's running around, he's trying to buy him some friends, and all I can say about that is, if you got to buy friends, folks, you're in trouble. Because they're not really good friends at all when you got to do that. And a good friend will ride and die with you all the way to the end. The other ones will stab you in the back in a heartbeat. Okay? Verse 5. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, How much owest thou unto my Lord? So he's in a panic, and he's going to go around. He's trying to get these books fixed. He's trying to make a quick buck before he loses his job. And all I can tell you today is, how much do you owe our Father today? Let me tell you what you owe him. You owe him for the very breath, the first breath that you step out of bed every morning. You take that breath. Is he not responsible for the breath that we take? Amen. We are to be thankful for him to everything that he does for us. We're to be thankful for him even when you go through trials and tribulations, even when you have losses in your life. Guess what? Because he's going to pick you up and dust you off, and you're going to move forward just a little bit further. He's with us no matter what. Verse 6. And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto them, Take thy bill, and sit down, and quickly write 50. Are you shortchanging the Lord today? It's not even his money. Just like everything we are and everything we have is not ours, it's God's. And now he's going around and he's cutting the debt of the master in half because he's trying to save his own tail. Verse 7. Then said he to another, How much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, Take thy bill and write 80. Again, what has God given you today? And are you taking care of it? Are you resenting it? Are you not taking care of it? Are you complaining about it? Folks, because I promise you, if you don't want it, you don't want to take care of it, God will take it from you. I've helped a lot of people move before. See, I'm just trying to make these examples of him cutting his debt in half and taking shortcuts. You know, I've helped a lot of people move over the years. If you've ever been in a house trying to help somebody move, and when you move a bed, it looks like you took a push broom and had been pushing clothes under and toys under and everything else instead of cleaning it. You think, that's silly, Pastor. You talk about that God's going to take something from me just because I don't clean my house right? Yes, I am. Because you're not taking care of what God blessed you with. Verse 8. And the Lord commended the unjust steward. That says he commended him. Because he had done wisely. For the children of this world are in the generation wiser than the children of light. He was commending him for being shrewd, is what he was commending him for. He was commending him for having street smarts and having the wiseness of the world of today instead of the spiritual things that God had given him and blessed him with. He had a nice home, and I know they didn't have cars back then. He had a nice car. I'm just using that as an example. He had nice clothes. He didn't have to dig a ditch. He didn't have to work that hard. All he had to do was have respect under what God had blessed him with. And now he's not only not done his job, now he's ripping his employer off. Are you ripping God off today? Or are you taking care of what he gives you? Are you giving him back your first fruits? It doesn't matter how much money you make, whether it's $100,000 a year or $10,000 or $20,000 a year, we are supposed to give God his part. Because you wouldn't have any of it without him. I lost my place. Verse 9. I say unto you, make to yourself friends of mammon. Mammon is money. Are you going to be friends of the ways of this world? Or are you going to live in the ways of this world? Are you going to be so tied up in greed that you would rip off and steal from somebody? We cannot be friends of mammon and still serve the living God and take care of what is his. Of unrighteousness, that when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. that is a Hebrewism, meaning the tents of hell. Those who would be unrighteous, those who would be out there ripping people off instead of serving the living God today. It was not his. Just like everything you have today is not yours. You're in charge of it, but I promise you, you don't own it. The living God owns it. Do you have faith to give God what is his? I've seen so many examples of that in my life. People having enough faith in God that they give God their first portion. And yes, I am talking about tithing. And then watch him bless them 100-fold for having their faith. Now I'm going to say this too. Now God, he is so fair. And he loves his children so much. Now do you really think he expects somebody that's on a fixed income, that's living on Social Security or living off of Medicaid, to give 10% to the church? No. I do not believe that at all. This is talking about able, working people that work every day and provide for their families and are Christians that love the Lord, have enough faith to give God his portion. And again, I'm going to tell you, that doesn't mean because you lead the music. It doesn't mean because you sing the music. It doesn't mean because I'm standing up here preaching today. Those are an honor from God to be able to do those things. We still have to give God our first fruits if you want to be blessed. And that is walking in obedience to God. Remember I said all those ifs and all those buts? There's conditions to it all. But one of those conditions is walking in obedience to God and giving him your first fruits. Verse 10. And I love this. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much. And if God gives you one talent and you take care of it, and you use it as God had asked you to, and you take care of it, guess what? He'll give you 10 talents the next time because you are faithful in the least things. He knows you're going to be faithful in the big things. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also much. So, if you're crooked, you're crooked. And if you're honest, you're honest. And that's just being just as plain as I can be about it. Because that's just as plain as God just spelled it out. God will not bless you with more if you do not take care of what you got. I've had to learn that the hard way. If you do not take care of what he is giving you, he will never bless you with anything more. That's pretty simple, isn't it? Are you going to put your faith in the things of this world or the things of God and trust him and have the shield of faith that Abraham had? Verse 11. Therefore, if ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to you trust the true riches, ill-gotten gains? You do not take care of what he has blessed you with in this world, you will lose it. Verse 12. And if ye have not been faithful, in which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? There's a perfect example for that. I mean, if you don't, I got plenty of people that work for me and I trust them every day, like I said, to go out and take care of it. And if you can't be trusted with another person's things and they've entrusted you with it, then God will never entrust you with anything of his business. I don't know if I can find the scripture or not. Anybody? Malachi 3:8. Let's see if I can find it. You know, I've been a pastor for a long time. I still have to look at the front of the Bible to find the book. All right, we're going to go to Malachi. I wasn't planning on coming here, so. All right, chapter 3 of Malachi. Verse 8. I mean, this lays the rubber where it meets the road. When I read this. Verse 8. Will a man rob God? Yet he hath robbed me. But ye say, wherewith have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Man, does that spell it out or what? God does not expect you to go hungry. God does not expect you not to have clothes. God does not expect you not to have the money to feed your children. I was a butcher, and I think I lost my mic. I was a butcher in Texas one time. This guy, he's just as nice as he can be. I bet he weighed 354 pounds like Dave there. He's probably even bigger than Dave. Hard working, just one of the best people that you'd ever meet in your life. He was going to the church, and the church was telling him that he had to give 10% tithing or he was going to hell. He was paying them almost $300 a week out of his paycheck. And he had 6 kids. I mean, you couldn't have met anybody better. And he was not able to feed his kids. He was not able to pay his bills because he was being fed a load of crud. Now, I don't know what gods you serve, but I know the one that I serve loves people, loves his children, and he understands you have to take care of your family, you have to take care of your bills, and then you give him your best. But don't let anybody lie to you and, well, if you'll send me $1,000, I'm going to send you this prayer cloth, and next time you get sick, you'll be healed, brother. Send me $1,000. Or if you stand before a church and they beg for money each and every week, then they're not doing things God's way. Is it important to tithe? Yes. You've got to be a good steward for God, and He will bless you. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Everyone, please bow your heads.